everyone, and once again a warm welcome back to the Dr. Balmer channel. So, it has been an interesting time lately, and I've received a couple of very good comments on a couple of videos, so I thought that we should do a follow-up on a couple of things. This video is not about these scales, these kitchen scales. Instead, you might remember this little light that I made a video of, actually 2 videos of. There is an update. Yeah, it's a little flashlight having different output modes of turbo, high, medium, low, strobe and SOS flashing. It has a magnet, it has a thread here for mounting it onto a tripod, perhaps something like this. You can just mount it here. But it also has a carbine hook here, a loop, and yeah, and also a stand if you want, or you can hang it by it. And also it features USB charging and an LED for charge indication. And basically, yeah, if you are if you haven't seen my previous videos on this, then please have a look. I will supply the link in the comments or in the description for this video. There was a couple of issues, and one which became apparent during the first video was that there is a little pin here, or a rod, and after moving this about a little bit back and forth, it actually started to come out of there. And let's see if I can trigger it now. Let's see here. I don't know what I did to make it loose previously, but enough so that it would fall out of there, but it did. And yeah, you can see, perhaps if I manage to focus on the right here, it's already coming out. So if you're holding it perhaps in a way like this, and this gets moved about a bit, then whoops, it's coming out, and this becomes loose and will fall off. Let's see if I can supply some more light. Yeah, and there it is. And this is of course a drawback, and I believe I have it the wrong way, so it should be this way. And so yeah, what if we could fix this? And a comment I got from a certain Chris Sinclair 8705, I believe, yes. He made a comment that perhaps putting a bit of glue on here would fix the issue. So I thought that okay, sure, why not? Let's just try to make a simple fix. I will try to get the rod back in there first. I have to align it properly. Let's see if I can manage to do that. it's a bit hard to do it. So it's a bit stuck. I shall find some tool, perhaps I can push with this, the backside of this pen or something. Yeah, that worked better. So now it's back in position again, but of course it will fall off again eventually. So my first immediate fix, let's just do the simplest thing we can do and put a drop of glue on here and on here. I will use this this cheap super glue and see what happens. So I shall just place on the box here below, so in case I squirt some glue it will let's see if this, oh, is this glue? No, it was openable. Let's see if I actually can get any glue out of it. Just to refocus a bit. Yeah, I can see glue is coming out. Okay, so let's put a little small drop here. Just enough to keep it in place. So it's a bit wet here, we can see that it's there. And then I will put a little drop here. Something like that. And just let it dry for a second. If this can stop the rod itself from moving, but allow this loop here to move, then that would be great. So thanks for the comment and the tip for using some glue. Of course, I was also wondering, perhaps some hot glue could also work at the ends there, but I believe it would fall off perhaps. I don't know, but I'll try this first and see if it will work. So this, in case it works, it's a very easy and cheap fix. So while that dries, I also had a very nice comment from Chris Sinclair again regarding the light output of these flashlights, that they seem to be noticeably dimming in light intensity, and that after a couple of minutes the light intensity is considerably lower. And well, I have a couple of these lights actually, because they have turned out to be very useful. I rarely use them for a long period of time straight, but usually I use them when I'm tinkering with the test bench. That you have probably seen on other videos on the overclocking, and stuff like that. Connecting some cable or lead behind some computer case or whatever, and they are magnetic, so I can have one on the fridge, stuff like that, in the garage, and for that they have been working well. So yeah, but I know that I have 6 lights and they come from 2 different sellers on AliExpress. But I don't know which ones are from which, unfortunately. However, I know that this light that had the loop mounted the other way, the wrong way around, it was the first light that I got from the first seller, at least. So I thought, let's do a weigh-in on these scales and see if there's any immediately visible change or difference in weights. So let's see here. This is zeroed out. Place the first light. 35 grams, which equals 1.2 ounces. Let's go for the second one. 34 grams. So we place the 34 there. 35. Let's see here. Yeah, it's a bit out of shot, but I will separate the 34s from 35s so far. 34. 34. 35. And now the glued one. And hopefully I didn't apply a gram of glue. 35. Okay. So will these consistently be 35? Okay, so these scales aren't particularly accurate, perhaps. 35. So these two have consistently given 35. Let's try the 34s. 34. 34. 34. And then this one that toggled between 34 and 35. So now it's 34 again. Okay, so we have 4 lights that are 34 grams and 2 lights that are 35. And I believe that these two are from the first purchase, from the first seller perhaps then. I don't know, but I know that this one was from the first. And now it has some glue on it, so hopefully, let's see if it has dried. I believe so. And let's inspect it. Yeah, this one is moving, at least the loop. And the rod isn't seeming to move anywhere, which is good. So yeah, very nice. Thank you for the tip, Chris Sinclair, 8705. And Chris Sinclair has also provided the comment about the dimming, the fast dimming of the light output. And thank you for that as well. You should read his comment or comments for the first video, which I will provide a link to in the description. So check it out and see what he found. And also, of course, check out his channel. He also seems to have some very interesting videos, so have a look at those. I want to also see if these lights that I have behave the same way. that Chris's does or do. So, but I had to do some digging around here on the premises, and finally I found this. This is a lux meter, and it is from Claes Olsson. Let's see if I can. Yep. It takes a 9-volt battery, and it also features a thread for mounting onto a tripod. And the model number is, if I refocus, MT-906. And it has a cover here, exposing sort of a lens. And if I turn it on, it shows the lux value. So right now we're about 200 lux, but of course it depends on what way I point this. So we need to make sure we are testing it the same way for different lights. It also features a backlight function, so if I remove the light from my phone here, we'll see that we are almost at the half amount of light here at 107. If I quick press this, I get some backlight for about 30 seconds. And if I there's a button here to switch between lux and FC, what is that, foot candles or something? I'm sorry, I'm not good with all the measurement units. It has a hold function also. If I press it quickly, so I got the hold function, so it stays at 67.5. Press again and we're back to the real-time measurement. If I press it a long time, we'll get the FC instead. So I will stick to lux. Okay, and if I long press the power button, it will turn off. So it's very simple like that. I don't know how accurate it is. It has some manual which states the accuracy, but for our purposes right now, it doesn't really matter. We want to see any change in light output in different modes of operation. So what I will do is I will pick the first light that weighed in at 85 grams that I know came from the first seller, and then I will save the second 35 grammer, and let's pick randomly here 34 grammer. So let's pick that one and put those aside. And now I can identify these two by either weight or the drop of glue that is existent on one of them. So let's set something up for testing these and see what we end up with. So one moment as I set it up. Alright, as you might or might not see in this darkness is that the lux meter is showing 0. So I've moved to my kitchen floor and set up the environment for testing this. And basically what I have is, let me turn on my phone's light. Yeah, so what I have is the lux meter set up on a tripod, and let me just adjust the tripod of the phone quickly, and it's right up against the end of the tile, the floor tile, and I also want, of course, to have some kind of timer. And believe it or not, all the gadgets I have here, I want a timer that wouldn't emit light and have a decently visible screen. And that was something I seem to not to have. But instead, I found this cooking thermometer. So let's use that, because it has a timer. It won't show the seconds, but it will show the minutes. And I think that should be enough for us. So I will turn it on. And it says timer here and 0. We can ignore the other information because this is a cooking thermometer, and we're currently not cooking, I hope. Yeah, I will press start, and then it will start to count. But it will only show minutes and hours and not seconds. And it will be placed here next to it, next to the lux meter. Then I have 2 tiles away. I will place this one, the light, on a tripod of about the same height as the lux meter tripod. And these tiles are 60 centimeters long. So we have about 120 centimeters from there all the way to here. I will then turn this fully charged light on into, for instance, the turbo mode, and we will let the camera record and see what lux output we get over time. So let's get started. I will of course turn off the light on my phone, and we shall see if we can read out the numbers. So let's begin then. I will see if I can get everything in shot here. Yeah. Okay, I shall turn this light off. I will turn the flashlight onto turbo mode by holding the power button for 2 seconds. Okay, and I shall of course also turn on the timer. So currently let's see here, we're at 72 to 74 lux. So let's run this for a while. And see how this develops. So I'm seeing a slight flickering effect in the video. So we do have some PWM, and 1 minute into the test, yeah, we can see the lux meter is starting to jump around a bit. So it seems that we are PWMing, pulse width modulating the light, and it makes the lux meter a bit unhappy. But we can see the numbers were switching between, so already we're not seeing 70 plus lux anymore. So we're in the high 60s to high 20s, and yeah, so the strobing light is making this a bit more difficult. And it seems from the recording itself that the strobing is becoming stronger. So yeah, we are 2 minutes in, slightly over, perhaps soon 3 minutes. And the light output has decreased visibly. So now we're pending no longer up to 60 lux, but we're seeing 45 at the highest, and 5 at the lowest. And the strobing seems to be getting worse. We're seeing, yeah, 42, 43. So I will let it run for a while, and let's see what figures we see then. So, yeah, one thing I've noticed is, first of all, the lux meter does turn off itself after a certain amount of time, perhaps around 10 minutes, it seems. But the second part is that I believe we have now reached a steady state where the light output seems to have stabilized. I'm still seeing highs of 45 and lows of about 5 or 3 lux. And then we jump to values in between. So we can see some values repeating, about 10, 3, 10, 15, and 40, perhaps 30 something from time to time. So it's a bit hard because of the PWM on the light, but we're currently seeing the same range of values being displayed on the lux meter. And subjectively, the light output seems to have stabilized. So yeah, it's still a decent amount of light. I shall try to distantiate a bit here, perhaps zoom out a little. So this kitchen is pretty dark, otherwise I have tried to remove as many light sources as possible. So it's still supplying a decent amount of light. And I mean, the way I have used these lights is when I'm working with something very close to the light, like digging around in a computer test bench, replacing a headlight lamp in my car, or searching for something in some dark area for a minute or two at max. And therefore, partly I'm close to the light, and partly only a minute or two will pass between times, and between uses. If it stabilizes at this light level, it's still decent, but it's of course perhaps not exactly what you expect from the light. And we're now about 15 minutes in. Yeah, I'm perhaps not seeing, 44 we saw there at the top, 43, okay, yeah, so it's pretty stable now. Let's try to see if the light is warm to the touch. Well, I can feel that it's a bit warmer than my finger. I can feel that. But it's, I mean, it's perhaps 39 or 40 degrees Celsius. It feels like. So, okay. I'm thinking, what if I connect a USB lead from a power bank to the light while it's running? Will we see some change in light output if we are connected to a charger at the same time? This is also something that Chris Sinclair mentioned about in the comments. So let's see what happens with my light here when I do that. So one moment, I shall fetch a USB lead. Yeah, but before I do that, I noticed that the battery in my lux meter actually ran out on me. So I have replaced it, and the light has been on continuously, still in the turbo mode, and we're right at 20 minutes right now. And Yeah, so the light output might actually have decreased a little bit. I'm not seeing 40 plus lux for a while now. 35 I believe is the highest. Yeah, so after about 20 minutes we have dimmed a little bit more, and I suspect then that there is some mechanism either for, I mean, if there should be a boost converter or not in the light. I suppose that's debatable, because if you have a boost converter, then that converter would boost the voltage to the LEDs as the battery voltage drops to maintain the light output. And if there isn't, then of course the light would probably, like in this case, it seems dim as the battery voltage becomes lower. So yeah, let's let it run for a little bit more and come back and see what happens, let's say at 30 minutes. So 25 minutes have passed, and it seems that that is pretty much enough to see a clear difference, because now the light is pretty dim actually, and we can see that the lux meter is struggling to find some light. It's measuring from 0 to 3 or 3.5 lux at this distance, and yeah, visibly the light is pretty dim now. So allow me to zoom out a bit. It's visibly dimmer, and yeah, so this is of course suboptimal, but on the other hand, considering the size of this light, getting at least 20 minutes of useful light on turbo mode, which does put out a decent amount of light, even though it does dim. Yeah, okay, it's a bit of a shame, of course, that it behaves like this, but I suppose this is what you get for $1.99, of course. So yeah, I'm thinking this is about where the usability for this light as a flashlight has been, so to speak, yeah, the usability of this light output is perhaps no longer usable for being a flashlight. But what happens if I turn the light off and then turn it back into turbo mode? Will it return to 74 or something, or will we continue at this dim level? So I've turned it off and I will press it 2 seconds. So yeah, we're clearly still at a very dim level. So it must be related to battery voltage. And in my previous update video on these lights, I believe I managed to measure around 200 milliamp hours on the battery. So yeah, after 29 minutes, so half an hour, the lux meter at 120 centimeters away is showing 0 lux basically. I suppose there is some lower threshold plus the PWM modulation of the light makes it a bit difficult for it to measure. So now that we're at 0 lux basically, and being very dim here, we're almost at the point where the light will turn off, I believe. Let's try to connect a USB lead and see what happens to the light output. So I have a power bank, the USB-C lead. Let's see if I can manage to plug it in. Oh yes, this made a difference. So now that we are charging and running at turbo mode, we're seeing a much brighter light and a light output of let's see here, pending between 55 I saw, I believe, but I don't see, yeah, 52. So just for comparison, let's zoom out a bit. This is of course much brighter. Still I'm seeing some PWM flickering, strobing on the video at least, and with my eyes I see as well when I move my eyes from left to right. The charge indicator on the light is showing it's charging. Let's see what happens after a couple of minutes. So a couple of minutes more have passed and we seem to be jumping around up to 40 plus lux and down to 5 or 6. However, the strobing is there. We have a higher light output than we had without the power bank connected. But if I zoom out, I can see with my eyes that the light intensity is pulsing off of the wall, like on the wall. So that's pretty annoying. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. But of course, if you have a charger connected to it and you have the means to do so where you're working, then or using this light, then of course that will help a lot with the light intensity. So yeah, this is the result then from the first light. Let me disconnect the USB lead. And as soon as I disconnect it, the light intensity becomes more stable for my eyes. I no longer see the fluctuating light pulsating output on the wall in the same way. So while charging while using makes it pulsate a bit more. And now my lux meter has turned off conveniently, so let me turn it on. Yeah, so now we're back at a pretty good light output after a couple of minutes of charge. But of course this will start to dim back again. So what I want to do now is to unmount this light, charge it up, and then move over to the 35 gram light, and we will do this test again. So let's do it. So the new light has been mounted, and currently you can see that the value is stable in the beginning on the lux meter, so we don't have any strobing. But that starts to change as the battery is being drained. So I'm seeing about 58 lux on this one, and in turbo mode here, yeah, let's see how long it takes. The other one starts to strobe about 2 minutes in. So we're starting to get some fluctuating values, but they're fluctuating from about 48 to 52. So jumps aren't too high. We're now lowering down. We don't see 50 anymore. So what's interesting here on this light is that we're seeing a steadily lowering lux value, and I can see visibly with my eyes that the light is getting a bit dimmer. We're 2 minutes in, but so far the phone camera isn't picking up the strobing effect as much, and neither does the lux meter, it seems, because it's not fluctuating between 5 or 6 lux up to 40 like the other one did. This one is fluctuating in a much narrower interval or range, and steadily that range is lowering down. But on the other hand, it's lowering so far pretty fast, At 3 minutes in, we're at about 20 lux at max, and 5 or so, I think, at minimum. So I would say that this light is showing a bit different behavior from the other one. Visibly the light is of course dimmer than from the beginning, but it's still an okay amount of light if you have the light pretty close to what you're looking at least. So I mean, the absolute values on the lux meter we should take with a grain of salt, because of course this is not very scientifically done, because I have moved the light when I've unmounted the old light, and I changed batteries in the lux meter, so maybe it's not positioned exactly in the same direction and so on, like before. But yeah, we did start at a range of about 58, 60 lux, and then we're dropping, and we're 5 minutes in, and we are at about 20 lux at the highest, and then yeah, just below 10 lux the lowest. So I actually much prefer this behavior of the light rather than the extreme strobing due to PWM modulation. So yeah, let's leave it for a while and come back once some more time has passed. Alright, so 10 minutes have passed, and I'm basically seeing the same output level of light here. We're pending between 20 and 10 still. So this is much better, I think, because at least we're getting a usable light amount, while or a usable amount of light, I should say, while still being dimmer, of course, than in the first minute or so on the turbo mode. But at least it's without that extreme strobing effect, and also having a steady light output is, in my opinion, much preferred. So it does seem to matter a lot which light you get from which seller, and that can be, of course, a bit hard to be able to distinguish which light is good and which, so to speak, is bad, depending on which one you want, because that's probably not specified in the item descriptions, how the lights behave, and if they are some old version, new version, or what revision, and so on. So it seems to be a bit of a gamble when you buy these as to which one you will actually get. And perhaps there are even more versions of these lights. So yeah, and right now I'm only testing the turbo mode. So yeah, how the high and medium and low modes work. Or we'll have two modes more. So we have the turbo, which is high, I believe, and then we have medium and low, and then strobing and SOS. So yeah, but I will let it run for a while longer. Okay, so just over 21 minutes have passed, and impressively enough, in relation to the first light I tested, we're still at a steady light output of pending between 9 and 20 lux on the meter. So we do have some variation there, probably due to some PWM still, but yeah, we're not constantly decreasing the light output. So yeah, this is much better in my opinion. And but with that said, let's wait for when we reach about 30 minutes, when the first light was pretty unusable as to the light output. Alright, 30 minutes have passed, and yeah, so we're still hitting about 20 lux at the top end and about 9 or so at the low end, and then we jump in between. So that's pretty good actually. It means we get a usable amount of light over time, and while the other light, the first one, was unusable after 30 minutes, this one is still going strong. Perhaps there's a larger battery. I mean, this one weighed in at about 1 gram more, but yeah, 1 gram of lithium cell perhaps does make a difference, if that's the case. Or my scales might have been off, of course, by 1 gram. But they seem to consistently weigh in at 34 and 35 grams respectively. So yeah, if I just place my fingers on the light, it's not warm or anything. So at this light output level, it's not heating up the battery. It shouldn't heat up the battery a whole lot. So running it at this level should be fine, I think. So yeah, let's leave it running and see where we end up. 45 minutes have passed, and yeah, we're still going pretty strong. I'm still seeing 20 lux at the top, and then about 9 or so at the bottom end of the spectrum. So all good so far. Let's see if it manages an hour. So, right about 1 hour into test, and I'm seeing, well, what are we seeing? Perhaps a little bit lower light output. I'm not seeing 20 anymore. Perhaps not 19 either, but 18.5 at the top. And then 8.5 at the lowest. But getting 1 hour out of this lamp. Okay, turbo mode, it isn't already, or it is no longer suitable to call it turbo at 18 lux at this distance perhaps. So the total light output can be summarized by backing off a bit. I mean, it's still sufficiently bright for many things, but of course this is not the turbo mode at the beginning at 60 lux or so. It doesn't mean automatically that the light is bad. It means that this is the way it behaves, and it might or might not suit certain applications of use. But of course, this is clearly better, I think, than the first light I tried, because the behavior of that light was not very good in comparison to this light. We're already over 1 hour here at the turbo mode, and we're getting at least a usable amount of light. The first flashlight died after 25-30 minutes. The light output was simply not usable anymore for that many applications. So yeah, let's continue to let this run and see what happens. Alright, the light has turned itself off, so I will turn on my phone's light. So yeah, this has turned off, and so has the lux meter, and the timer showed about 1 hour and 30 minutes or so when it turned off. So I was charging my phone because it needed a charge, and in the meantime it turned off. So if I try to turn it on again at full brightness, let's see what we get on the lux meter. Well, actually I didn't have time to turn on the lux meter because it immediately cut off. So there is some cut-off logic for the battery there, so that it doesn't over discharge it seems, because it was still pretty bright when it turned itself off. So yeah, I think that we're ready to try to remove this light, put it on a charge, and bring back the first one, and see what happens on the max setting. Will it also start to dim after 2 minutes? So I'm turning it on, and now I did a simple short press or click. So the light is bright at the high, or should we call it medium setting. It's not a turbo basically, it's basically the highest non-turbo setting. And on this light, once again, we're seeing a very aggressive PWM control. So we're bouncing from 70 and down to 69, down to 21. Lux. So it's almost as bright as the turbo. The turbo was a little bit brighter in the beginning, at least. So let's see what happens in the coming minutes or so, just to see a bit what the behavior is like. So 4 minutes have almost passed, and already I'm seeing that this light is very dim. It has dimmed down quite a bit from the starting point, and We can see that on the lux meter as well. And on the PWM strobing. And visibly with my eyes, I could see at around 2 or 3 minutes mark how within a couple of seconds between each time it would step down the brightness a notch until stabilizing. So I suspect that this is the kind of brightness you can expect for the entirety of its runtime on the non-turbo setting, until the battery voltage gets so low that it no longer is usable. So yeah, I won't let it run until it turns off, because that could take a little while again. But basically the behavior is similar on this first light, and I want to compare that with the highest non-turbo setting on the other light, which behaved a bit different on the turbo, and see what we get. So yeah, that's interesting. Right, and finally, I'm setting the better light to its high position. And yeah, it's at between 50 and 38 lux at the very beginning here. So let's see in a couple of minutes what the figures are, and if it's behaving similarly to the other lamp that dimmed quite heavily down pretty fast. So on the other light we were down pretty low after only 3 minutes in the highest non-turbo setting. So I'm seeing a little bit of light output adjustment. I can see with an interval of a couple of seconds that the light is dimming down one notch, every 2 or 3 seconds. It should be visible to the camera as well. And what do we see then? We have 18.5, 19. And then we drop. And then we go back up. And then we drop again. So that's an interesting behavior. Go down to 7.5 and then we climb up to 16, 17, 18, almost 19. And then we drop off again. And then back up. Okay, so that's a a little bit different behavior than I was expecting, perhaps. And but also after about 2 or 3 minutes this happens, so the light output is heavily reduced. But then we stay at an interval between 19 and 7.5 lux, but we sort of do it in a pending fashion. So we go all the way down first and then we increase back up. The other light didn't really do that, if I am not mistaken, so yeah, this is a bit interesting. Visually, let's back up a bit and zoom out. So visually it seems to be pretty much constant light output, and noticeably we're not seeing any PWM strobing picking up on the camera. It is definitely PWM controlled. I can see that with my eyes, but perhaps the PWM frequency is higher, perhaps, so it doesn't interfere with the camera. Or in my case, the mobile phone that I'm using, the Huawei P20 Pro. So yeah, basically this is what I wanted to see at the high level. Let's just for fun, I will click the button again to go to the lower setting. And in the lower setting, yeah, we're between 5.5 and 15 or so, 14.8 lux. And if I press again, now we're getting the strobing, sorry, and then we turn it off. So yeah, let's get out of the kitchen and summarize this. Actually, I have wanted to be able to open one of these, and I haven't been able to, but I found that it seems to be possible to get a spudger or something in between the the case, and yeah, so this is what it looks like. Finally was able to open it, so let's just check for a second before I go about doing anything further. Just double checking the weight of this. This is a 35 gram one. And we can see that there are two plastic notches here, or clips that keep it fastened to the case. They go into here and there. And there is some chip which doesn't have any markings, but it should be a charging chip. This one. And yeah, then we have a couple of wires going to the battery. Let's see if we can. Yeah, there are no markings on the cell itself as to the capacity, and it's only glued in place on a double-sided adhesive cushion. And then we have the LEDs on an aluminium base plate. So yeah, that's what's inside a 35-gram one. Now, having this said, let's see, how was this assembled? It was something like this, and then this one, the lid closes here. So let's try to open a 34-gram version. Let's just, I believe this is the one I 35, okay. Let's see here. $34. Okay, let's take that. So if it's constructed in the same way like this one, then there should be a clip here, but it's not very easy. You have to still start, perhaps. Sorry, fly here. In the corner or something. Let's inspect where could be a good place to start. Yeah, oh, I got some clicking sounds. All right. And from the looks of it, it's pretty much the same. The battery seems to be the same size. Let's compare. Yeah. But then maybe, I don't know, is the lower one a bit thicker, perhaps? Or yeah, they do look pretty much the same. So But this is how you open them. They're just clipped into place, and if I try to clip it back here, will it stay there? No, let's see here. Oh, okay. I broke one clip off, it seems. So yeah, but this one has got both clips intact, it seems. So let me try. No, it still stays kind of loose. But maybe those broke off as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, this one is mounted the wrong way around. It should be facing this way. And yeah, it does. Okay, it stays on there, but it's not. Now it's very easy to open it again. So maybe some glue, a glue point, one or two glue points, and maybe some hot glue. But yeah, if you open them, then be prepared that the clips might not survive, and they'll be much easier to open a second time. So yeah, that's the innards. There we have some piece of the clip. I will glue them in place. Could actually try it, especially this one that where the clip broke off. So how did it break off? It's sort of stuck in there. But that's okay. We can place some glue on. Perhaps right onto here. I'll place a drop of glue here, and then let's see here. Yeah, maybe in the corners. I'm sorry if I'm getting out of shot. It's very zoomed in. So yeah, a drop of glue in the corners, perhaps, leaving one corner available to be able to open it again. So let's bring forth the glue and just place a tiny drop in three corners and maybe there. Okay. And now I shall attempt to close it. Like this. Does it still work? Yeah, it does. Will it get glued into place? have to put some pressure on it, perhaps for a few seconds, and then we shall see. So yeah, I don't see any immediate difference, but I suspect that maybe some of these have larger capacity cells or something like that. And if you are opening them, you can see the let me just press this on for a moment. I mean, you can see the orientation of the cell. So the clips are at the top and bottom of the light, and there is the greatest distance to the cell in case you are using a sharp object to get in there in between, so that you don't rip open the cell and might cause a short circuit or something. Yeah, but this is now considerably more sturdy again, and I've left one corner unglued intentionally so that I can take the spudger once again in the future and just go around to break the bond of the glue points. And I shall do the same with this cell lamp light. Yeah, so there you go for this little light. Well, actually this video won't end yet, because I opened another one, and I believe this is the better one, and it is constructed a bit differently. So here we don't have a double-sided adhesive, we have a pad here which isn't adhesive, and we have the lithium cell, and then we do have a chip which does have a marking. So see if that's visible. I will try to take a picture of it and see, but oops, my tripod isn't happy. Yeah, so it basically looks the same, and the cell looks to be of the similar size, but it is constructed a bit differently, and it behaves a bit differently. So that's just worthy of note. So I shall glue it back together. But so indeed, there are two different versions at least, and I suppose it's like with the silicon lottery, which one you get. Presumably a cheaper light would result in a cheaper model, or yeah, but of course that isn't always the case. But then you know, so yeah. Yeah, so to summarize this all, first of all, it should be noted that my testing isn't scientifically valid in any way, but I believe it did show us a couple of interesting things with regard to how the lights behave. And the lights are interesting, and especially the fact that they behave a bit differently as well. It makes it a bit hard to buy the right one, so to speak, and there might as well be many more versions or revisions that I don't have, that I'm not in possession of, and they could behave differently, have different sizes of battery cells, different construction, and if you get a light that like the first one I tested, which had a very aggressive PWM control, it faded quickly on turbo mode. It had a visible strobing for your eyes and the camera. In that case, yeah, it's not the best light, of course. The other one, this one, which had a weight of 35 grams. I don't know if that's a way to distinguish them, but it actually performed a lot better and more consistently, giving a light output that wasn't as visibly PWM'd, so to speak. These lights are cheap, so how to go about that then? Well, first of all, if you go to AliExpress or Amazon or something, check the reviews for the seller, see if anyone mentions any testing. Second, of course, you can send a message to the seller and asking for the behavior, but it can be a bit hard, of course, to get a decent answer, maybe. And it's not always that all sellers there understand English that well to distinguish exactly what you're looking for. So one option, of course, being so cheap like they are, is of course to buy from different sellers, one or a couple, if there's free shipping and the lights are cheap, or if you find a very highly reputable seller, then maybe that could be a way forward as well. So yeah, I don't know if there's so much more left to mention, but yeah, a huge thanks to Chris Sinclair 8705 for your comments and ideas, and it has been fun testing this and seeing the difference. So that would have passed unnoticed for a while, at least on my part, if you hadn't posted a comment. And it has been fun testing this, and I hope it can be of some help. And also thank you for the tip on gluing the rod here. So now several hours have passed and this one works, and the rod is not moving anywhere, so when I'm moving this flap. Yeah, so thank you everyone so much for watching, and I am happy to see that this channel now has, let me check actually, yeah, 9 subscribers, and that's 9 subscribers more than I would have anticipated. So thank you everyone very much for watching my videos. If you find them interesting, and leave your comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.